20, greet hello when you first get on that virtual call. They come on screen, they say hi, you say hi, thank you so much for having me. I'm very excited to be here. Just let me know when you're ready. This is great if they let you in a little bit early. We'll talk about that in another tip, but you always want to still give a greeting just like you would in the regular interview because it's still an interview. But people often get on virtual interviews and go, hi. We gotta have a great first impression. Start with the confidence of greeting and saying hello, thank you for having me. Number 19, check your sound ahead of time. You do not want to be on this call and not know where the buttons are for sound and for camera, etc. Make sure you sound good ahead of time and that there's no reverb or echo on the other end. Looking at things like, are your earbuds plugged in right, or does Zoom keep bouncing you off the sound that you're using? You want to just check that ahead, which leads to tip 18. Please wear earbuds or AirPods. Wearing earbuds of some sort is going to help that there's no feedback or no echo on the other side. Not to mention, it's just going to help you focus. I don't know about anyone else, is this just me? But like, I will put my AirPods in and then just start getting to work. And I never went and like pressed my rain noises or my white noise or my music in the background. I just put them in and that told me like focus. And so it's the same thing for the interview. Even having them in while it will give you sound for the interview, there is some weird signal of like, and I'm pretty sure studies have been done around this. I think in the book Indistractable, they talk about it, that just putting them on helps you concentrate on what you're doing. Okay, we're gonna be bouncing all around in the tips, so just stay with me. You wanna be here for all 20 because we're gonna go tech, not tech, impressions, etc. So stay with. Number 17, frame yourself well. Now, you wanna be making sure that you are in frame correctly and pay attention to your background. So this tip is kind of 2 tips in one, because one, you wanna be framed well. You don't wanna be down here. Who's talked to a parent on FaceTime who doesn't understand that they're not in frame? Is that just me? Sorry, Dad. You wanna make sure you're in frame correctly, or you're not doing this like up thing because you're on a phone. That's a story for a different tip, but make sure you're framed correctly. So if that means you gotta stack some books so your laptop gets at eye level height, stack some books. Pay attention to your background. We don't want anything to distract in our background. So no dirty laundry and piles of clothes, no unmade bed in the background, but also things like what posters are in the background, or like if I flipped my camera around, which I'm not gonna do, on the other side of me is whiteboard sheets of like goals for the month and the quarter and etc. It's like they don't need to see that. So just be paying attention to what's in your background. Now, sometimes we're in situations where we just do not have control over that, and that's where a Zoom background is going to be your best friend. And yes, you can just pick some generic office setting, but in my impressive interview kit, I have a customizable Zoom background template that's going to help them stay focused on you, and it lets you highlight the skills you always want them to be paying attention to. So I highly suggest you go check that out. Link will be in the description box. All right, number 16. This is probably one of my favorites. Y'all, lighting is magic. Now, this used to be something that only people in Hollywood knew, but now that we all have cell phones that we take pictures on all day long, or reels or videos or selfies all the time, I don't know if you're a certain age, you're on selfies all the time, we all kind of know that lighting is magic, but you need to remember this for the interview. You've taken a selfie in bad lighting and you've taken a selfie in good lighting. We've seen the difference. We want this for the interview because we want to bring our best selves to that virtual interview. So easiest way to do this is sit in front of a window and have the light on you. Worst thing you could do is have a window or a light source behind you coming this way, because then you're just going to be a silhouette or a shadow, or you're going to have weird lines, right? A window is going to help. If you can't have a window, y'all, if you've seen some of my older videos where I'm on the red couch and everything looks yellowy, that's because that apartment had the worst lighting known to man. It was dark as a cave. So I would have to take as many lights as possible and put them in front of me. And for interviews, that's what I would do. I'd get a lamp, put it right there. So sometimes we got to move the furniture around if it helps get the job done. But that lighting is magic to make you look like your best self. Have some good lighting. Additionally, I have a whole separate video on how to look good on Zoom interviews or virtual meetings. You can get that here and I'll put it in the description box below. Learn more there. Number 15, pull up your resume. You could even make your resume your Zoom background, and then you're like, you know, like as a green screen, and then you're in front of it so that you can refer to things if you need to, or just to help them refer to what you want them to. It's a great idea to do that. You don't have to, but it could be helpful. The other thing you could do is tip number 14, pull up any examples of your work. Now, you want to have these ready to go before the interview. Please don't in the middle of the interview be like, oh, you know what? I have a really good example of that. Hold on, let me just, and you're having to like find the file and open it. No, pre-interview, make sure you open up any files that might be useful. Already learn where the share button is. You know, again, this is one of those things that you think at this point in time, we all know where the share button is on Google Meet or Zoom or whatever. People don't know where it is. I was in an interview the other day where someone didn't know how to find the share button. So make sure you know all of that ahead of time. Make sure you have those pulled up so that if it comes up in an answer, in a question that you're answering, you go, oh, you know what? I actually have a really good example of this. Do you mind if I share screen? They say yes. And you could just click it and use it. This is also a really nice cheat for you. It's going to help them picture what you did, but you also now get something to look at to help you kind of walk through what you're talking about. Now, speaking about the whole know where the share screen button is, that goes to tip 13. Know your tech. If you are not one to use a lot of the tech on your computer, you just open files and that's it, we need to take a minute and know where our settings are. Know where your audio settings are, know where your video settings are, your camera settings, etc. Again, you would think by this point in time, we all know this. I sit on calls all the time where people go, oh wait, oh my camera's not on, oh how do I turn it on? Oh, do you know where that is? No. And if you really want to make an interviewer mad, ask them to tell you where the stuff is for your interview. Like, no, part of being prepared for the interview and showing that you cared about this was figuring all of that out ahead of time. But that doesn't mean glitches don't happen, right? Life happens. I got on a call the other day. I do Google Meet calls all day long. I got on a Google Meet the other day. They could not hear me. I could not hear them. I looked at my AirPod settings. I looked at my internal settings. I looked at the Google Meet settings and the computer settings, and I switched everything and I made sure they were all on the right thing, and they still couldn't hear me. That I just typed, I'm gonna leave and come back. I left, I came back, they could hear me. Glitches happen, but at least I knew where all those buttons were to check really fast and go, it's none of these, we're just gonna start over, and I could. And so that's why you gotta know where that stuff is so you're not put in a panic when it happens. And here's the thing, I know somebody is gonna go in the comments of this video, because they've done it in others, where they're like, oh, you're stressing me out even more than before. Now I'm worried about all these other things, and wow, you really believe in Murphy's Law. Yes, I do. And that's why I think you should be prepared, because interviews are nerve-wracking enough. You are stressed enough just to interview. And I have been in interviews where the person comes on screen and they seem real stressed, and then we go, oh, we can't hear you. And you can see the panic on their faces. They're like, oh my gosh, they can't hear me. What button do I put? Where do I go? What do I do? And it's like, just take a second. If we don't need to add that stress to the interview. So if you already know where your tech is, how to handle it, you can go, no problem. And you click something, you go, can you hear me now? And they can. So this is really, honestly, it's prep to make sure you're not as stressed the day of, or that little things can't throw you. Number 12, take notes. During the interview, you can have paper to the side and take some notes. Don't keyboard, we don't want to hear you tappy tap tapping, but you can take some notes. So take notes on the side, not long, copious notes. If they ask a 3-part question, we're not writing out the full question, but you can jot down some keywords to remember the 3 parts. That doesn't mean you can't ask them to repeat it. Of course you can, but it's just gonna help you stay on track if you've got some quick notes of what they asked. Number 11, be 10% more you. Here's what I mean. Cameras suck energy. Like, y'all, I make some of these videos and I think I am up here the whole time, and then I watch them back and I'm like, oh, I was talking to them like this the whole time. Cameras suck energy a little bit, so we need to be a little bit more up. Be you, but be you on your best day. So if you have a pretty chill demeanor, I'm not saying you need to now be a cheerleader and say everything like this. No, but we do need to just bump it a notch. Just bump it a notch. And here are 2 more tips to help you with that. Number 10, smile. Smiles bring energy, right? Have you ever heard like you can hear a smile over the phone? You totally can. Test it with somebody. Have a friend say hello, hello. Like it changes you. Smile is going to help bring that energy. It also just shows that you're friendly and warm, and we really need to present that warmth over a virtual interview where we're not getting the pleasure of being in person and feeling each other's energy. I know that sounds woo-woo, and I don't mean it like, oh, I can read your aura, but when you're in a room with people, there is an energy to it. And since we're on a virtual interview, we don't get that. but we can show it through a smile and through tip number 9, make virtual eye contact. So this is one that's really challenging for people, and I totally get it. You want to look at the interviewer. You want to look down at the interviewer, right? And you want to talk to them down here. But you need to remember that that interviewer is seeing you through your camera, and so you need to be making eye contact with the camera. Now again, this doesn't mean you can't look away for a second or look down at them and look back, but you want to be staying looking at that camera. If you want more help on this, I do have an actual cheat for this. You can get it in the how to cheat in your virtual interview video. I'll put it here and in the description box below. Okay, tip number 8, be just a few minutes early. Now, if this were an in-person interview, we would say be 5 to 10 minutes early, right? But on a virtual interview, time just works different. They didn't need to like shuffle in. No one had to take you from the reception area to the office. So you don't need quite as much time. And again, even this many years into doing virtual interviews, I still know people who give just one Zoom link to all the candidates for the day. And I've heard of candidates coming in early and accidentally interrupting the interview of the person in front of them. I mean, apparently some companies still haven't heard of the waiting room, but just in case, we just want to show up between 3 to 5 minutes early and just sit there and wait for them to bring you on screen, and then you can go back to that tip 20 and greet them. Number 7, make sure you are somewhere quiet. Please do not interview from Starbucks. Please do not interview from outside. Like, the sound is always going to be off. If you have no way of getting somewhere quiet, yes, you can do it from your car on your phone, but again, try and make your phone even with you. Don't like prop it on the steering wheel and you've got that horrible look. Yeah, make sure it's even, and then address the fact like, hey, sorry I'm having to do this from my car on my phone. It was just the quietest spot I could find. They'll understand, but I think letting them know is a nice signal of like, it's not that I'm like squeezing you in, it's that this is my only spot. And bonus tip, if you are going to do an interview from your car, like in the middle of your workday, you're like, oh, the only time I can do this is from my car on my lunch break. Drive your car somewhere else. If you are sitting in your car at lunch talking to somebody like this and a coworker walks by, that is awkward. They're gonna know the jig's up, and also you're gonna be distracted like, oh my gosh, my coworker just saw me. I'm trying to answer this question, but my coworker just saw me talking to somebody like this in my car. So awkward. Go drive to a different parking lot. Add in a couple minutes to go drive to a parking lot around the corner for the other office building, right? Some other office park or fast food restaurant, and do it from there. Number 6, dress the part fully. Yes, people love that on a virtual interview, like, oh, they only see me from here up, so I can wear shorts. There is something to dressing the full part, putting on that full suit or that fun creative outfit, right? If you're working like an ad agency or something, it just makes you feel different. We feel different when we get fully ready than when we work in our sweat. We do. You might be productive in your sweats, I'm not saying you're not, but we do have a different air to us. So make sure that you are dressing the full part so that you come to that interview bringing your best. It also, I think, just kind of signals to you like, oh yeah, this is a real interview. I might be in my living room, I might be at my dining room table, I might be in my car, but this is a real interview. Number 5, turn off all notifications and pop-ups. This one seems so obvious, but we all forget it. So make sure that turn off your phone completely so that it doesn't start vibrating and like rumbling the desk or pop-ups showing up on your screen. If you had to use your phone, phones should be last case scenario. Even on your laptop, we all get those notifications on our laptops now, and those pop up. And even if they don't see it, it's going to be distracting to you. But I have seen people's Slack messages pop up in the middle of meetings. So make sure you're turning all of those things off. Number 3, acknowledge when you're done talking. Don't say, I'm done talking, or that was my answer. Make sure you have a strong ending statement. Or you can kind of give the verbal, like the visual cue of like a head nod at the end to kind of show like, that's the end of my statement. But this is honestly one of the things I have to work with my interview coaching clients on a lot is you need to be confident that you've finished your answer. Don't trail off. Don't end abruptly. There should be a good conclusion to your answer that signals I'm done. And then just be confident that that is enough. Number 2, and this is one of my favorites, and if you watch my other videos, you've been waiting for it, use Post-its. Post-its are your friend. You can have a cheat sheet that you look at before an interview, but I've seen this a lot lately of people reading off their cheat sheet when asked a question, or they're asked a question and they're like, okay, And I can tell they're looking for their answer on their cheat sheet. You can't do that. So that's why I like Post-its. You can't write a ton on these. Don't write minuscule answers. Write big keywords that you want to remember in the interview. Put those around your screen. It's only the keywords. May I repeat again? Only the keywords that you want to remember. So like why you want the position, just like one big keyword. Tell me about yourself. 3 main things. But use them sparingly, but Post-its are your greatest virtual interview friend. And my number 1 tip, practice. Of course this is my number 1 tip. I talk about it all the time. You have to practice before an interview. Never let the first time you say those words out loud be in the room or on the screen. Oh, you're going to stumble. And I know it seems obvious at this point, but for some reason, sometimes we don't treat virtual interviews with the same like gravitas that we treat in person, but they are being treated equally on the employer side now. So you need to practice, you need to prep so that you can bring your best self to that interview. And to help you find out more about the best ways to prepare for your interview and to make you confident in it, I have a full interview prep course and my interview kit. You can get them in a bundle in the description box below. Now, if you want to learn more about how to cheat in a virtual interview, go watch this video and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.